throw the homemade bomb on.
Malcolm Coco has photos to share with the rest of the world. He says this is oil from the 2010 BP spill being burned off in the Gulf of Mexico, and it was his job to start the fires.
This fire initially was the biggest fire ever in the world, but every day we exceeded those numbers.
As part of the cleanup after the Deepwater Horizon explosion almost 3 years ago, BP hired private shrimp boats to collect the surface oil into one place with heavy-duty canvas booms. Malcolm was lowered from giant support ships in his tiny aluminium skiff to set the fires with what he calls makeshift bombs, filled with soap powder and gasoline.
It would create the big enough spark and flame that we needed to ignite the oil that had been collected on top of the surface.
Malcolm says the fires were the size of a whole city block and as tall as a skyscraper. He says those doing the work were given very little protective clothing or breathing apparatus.
The only equipment we had was a fire jumpsuit, and that was the little green jumpsuit I was wearing, and of course, that's not much protection from anything.
Malcolm says he was told not to take photos on his phone, and when he asked too many questions, BP and the Coast Guard became suspicious and sent him home.
BP did not want us taking our photographs, not to send anything or any emails home to your friends. Don't let anybody know what's going on out there.
He says he has evidence there was more oil spilled than has ever been publicly admitted.
In all categories, it was a massive cover-up, the way they presented it to us on the ship. And of course, many of the employees who were on the ship with me worked for shipping companies and worked for the boats that were involved in the operation. So they really didn't have any kind of say-so or really want to say anything without the threat of losing their job.
Malcolm's suing BP for damaging his health, migraines and nausea, which he blames on exposure to the oil and the Corexit. He now works on land as a realtor or estate agent and has not been back at sea as a boat captain since the disaster. We asked the Coast Guard and BP for a response to our story. The Coast Guard referred us to BP. Despite several emails, the company has yet to get back to us. John Terrett, Al Jazeera, New Orleans.